This is K-12 Tech Talk. K-12 Tech Talk. The podcast by K-12 Techs for K-12 Techs. Real conversations, real arguments, and real banter on trending K-12 technology topics and issues.
Live from the somethingcool.com studios. This is the K-12 Tech Talk podcast. This is episode 134. I am Josh. With me is Chris.
Good day.
And Mark.
Hello.
So hi Mark. At the
I'm sorry, I'm tired.
At the beginning of last week's episode, we asked you to share the podcast with one of your coworkers or one of your friends, and that clearly has been done. So let's keep it up. Major listen increases from Michigan, Iowa, Illinois, California. So if you're in
but
one
if
of
you're
those
listening
states,
and you didn't do that, what's the deal? Like, check yourself real quick. Just take a second. Check yourself. Did you do it?
I think
Why?
I was going to say you're being awfully aggressive. We need to have a conversation.
Why are
after
you
the
so angry?
after the out. Yeah, whatever. So Mark clearly is tired.
Grumpy
The poor
pants.
fella. Today is his first day of school. Oh, and his lights just went out.
What in the world?
Did your wife turn the lights out on you, or what?
I think my wife turned the lights out.
That's hilarious. Yeah, you're in a completely
Well-
dark room. That's funny. So
You know, this one time the lights went out.
oh my
Hey,
god!
I got a story.
Oh
Let's
my
go ahead and
god!
talk about that. We have a cool interview, and we're just never going to tell the story. Okay,
No, we can't
It's gonna
tell
be
the
a
story.
it's going to be a thing of legend. But we had a cool interview this week that's going to maybe come out next week.
Yep.
Or sooner.
Well,
you never know.
You never know. We get to interview Alaina Clark, who was with CISA, one of the assistant directors. Was it Stakeholder Engagement, I believe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great interview. You guys were very professional.
Yeah, you were not.
Yeah, I don't. So there was. So I guess we can tease this, right? So we get to interview Mrs. Clark. Mark and I met her at the K-12-6 conference several months ago down in Texas. Tried to get her to sit in the hot seat there. She said that she could not, because she needed to get that approved by her team and the whole bit. But then it worked out that we could interview her this week, and we can unpack a little bit about what she talked about, or maybe we'll just not wait.
I think we wait. I think yeah.
Okay. So anyway, we we had to send the questions in advance, and she had someone like beside her off screen, just paying attention to what was going on, monitoring conversation. And I told a story that got cut.
And we'll just leave it
Yes,
at
it
that.
did.
Yeah.
Not you
Yes, it
guys.
No, it was you.
It was me. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it was inappropriate.
I think we all agreed that story's getting cut.
Yeah. As soon as the story was over, there was no question whether or not that story was getting cut. Yes.
So it's going to be a thing of legend, because I don't think we can ever share it.
No, but it was a great interview once that story was cut.
Yes.
Like-
So
So we're looking forward to that. That'll be the next episode.
yeah, hopefully we get their stamp of approval here in the next day or so, and we can get that released. So yeah, thanks.
Because then after that, we want Jen Easterly. We'd like to
Yes,
talk to her, if I didn't ruin it for us.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. So yeah, we thank Alaina for coming on. If they're listening, I'm sure they're listening.
I told you
And
guys
hopefully-
to. That's on me. It's on
Well,
me. I take it.
We know who's definitely not getting invited to the White House next time. Yeah,
But if you guys got invited and I didn't, you wouldn't go, because we're brothers.
oh shoot, sorry, I thought I muted myself.
Right?
No, I would go. I'm sorry.
No, we're brothers. We would stand together.
No, I would go. Mark?
Mark,
Yeah,
you'd
100%.
stand down, right?
I'd stand down in Washington, D.C. next to my friend Josh.
We'd send a postcard.
Okay.
So, yeah, pay attention.
Loyalty check. Understood.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out. We'll have a special episode coming out with an interview with Alaina Clark. It was super good. I feel like my voice is like super sexy tonight. Yeah, I got this cold going on. I got a little
That's not
extra
what I said.
deep range.
Like,
No,
I
that's
didn't
not
say
what
that.
you said.
No.
No, yours is much worse. So Mark's first day of school was today.
Yeah.
And he looks rather worn from it.
Yep.
Busy
Yep.
day. Things go okay. Kids got there. Kids get fed. Kids went home.
Yeah, we did some of those things.
Good.
We had a heat emergency in the city today.
Oh, yeah. You were telling it. Highs in the 90s.
So yeah. So it was a hot day, and that causes all kinds of other issues. And on top of that, we're monitoring our equipment to make sure that nothing overheats. And while it didn't overheat, because not all of our network closets are air conditioned in our schools. Not all of our schools have air conditioning. What did happen was that we did have a lot of new air conditioners that were added in the last year to our schools, and the power was chugging. And
Oh,
so
really?
We had a lot of power issues on the first day, and I think we've talked about this before, but it is amazing how many people don't realize that the internet needs electricity. So when the electricity goes out and then they ask, well, what about the internet? I have a tough time with that.
Yeah.
So that was my day.
It's okay,
It was a
Mark.
very, very long day. Ready for day 2, though.
Yeah. Day 2 will
Should
be
we do-
interesting.
Should we do like I do with my kids when it's been a bad day? Mark, can you tell us one good thing that happened today?
I got out of my last school. I was in a total of 6 schools today. And I got out of the last school, and I was walking in my car, and there's a super fancy boutique-y craft brew store.
Oh.
And so I loaded up.
Understood.
Understood. I think I could tell that when you came on tonight.
No.
So
yeah, that was the best part.
We've had an interesting couple of days. Our SIS has been out 3 days in a row. Today it was only for 20 minutes, but Tuesday and Wednesday, yesterday it was out for a good majority of the morning, probably till right around lunch. And then Tuesday it was out starting at about lunch and going until more or less the end of the day. So that has been fun.
Josh, you got a brand new SIS. Why,
we do have
why-
a brand new SIS. Yes. And I was going to say
Why-
it is not Jupiter, but if you are in the market for a new student information system, you can check out Jupiter. Chris, tell them the way to contact Jupiter.
For sure. Jupiter, a proud sponsor of the K-12 Tech Talk podcast. You can email Stuart. That's stuart.miles@jupitered.com. I'll put that in the podcast description. Jupiter is a SIS. They're a great SIS, in particular for small, medium-sized school districts, but they can scale all the way up. Stuart wanted me to mention they have a robust messaging system. If you're needing the email within Jupiter to staff, to students, to admin, to parents, etc. They really let you customize those groups and do a better job than maybe some of our more familiar SISs that are on the market. So check out Jupiter.
So yeah, we are not using Jupiter, but it's gone down several times this week for extended amounts of time. Which, Mark, you had a question about that. What was it?
Your SIS has gone down, not Jupiter.
Correct. My SIS has gone down, not Jupiter. So we've also made a major change with our SIS this year, and we've also had some SIS challenges over the last couple of weeks. Interesting.
So you and I are both in that drudgery of what do we do when the SIS is not acting the way we want it to do, or it's not available. We were talking about this ahead of the show. Josh, what are you doing to prepare for your SIS going down?
Well, on day 2, when it went down, I had a list of things that people to call and warn them that it had gone down. Day 1, it was kind of flying by the seat of our pants. Transparency, I did not have a phone number for our CIS support line. All of the support up into this point through implementation was done through their support portal. I honestly didn't know they had a phone number. So a neighboring district that had been on this CIS for a good while gave me the support phone number. So it would, was starting with that. Okay, I know I need to update my incident response plan now with support number for said CIS. The big worry that I had immediately off the top of my head was attendance calls, because we automate that during a certain time of the day, certain period. We have an automated report that checks that period, that hour's attendance, and if it's an unexcused absence or an unverified absence, a text goes out to the parent. So my worry was, while CIS was down, it was going to come up at the last minute during that hour, and no one will have done attendance.
Sure.
So we're going to have 4,000 attendance calls going out, inadvertently, wrongly accusing kids of skipping school. The second concern that we had was food service. So on day 2, when this happened, the food service director shares an office with us. So I hollered down the hall at her and I said, hey, start calling your kitchen managers and just warn them they're likely going to see an error message and they're likely not going to be able to run lunch pins. Tell them to start writing things, that be prepared to start writing things down. Have paper, have pens, get ready, because it's probably going to happen. Much beyond that, I was kind of out of the loop, but I have a feeling it's going to lead to discussions during our next admin meeting of, okay, if it were to go down and we had an incident, I actually text somebody during this. I said, hey, you know what? Now would be a great time for a fire drill, because, how do you test in those instances, or how do you test for that instance when your SIS is down, or when you have an internet outage and you can't get to your SIS might be up. You can't get on the web, or you can't get on cell service to run attendance or a reunification application. That's the best time to test that.
So you just described 3 different buckets of work that you had to do. The first one was, who do you notify? Who are you calling, both internally and to the vendor?
Right.
So in your incident response plan, are you updating that? Who am I going to call when this goes down?
Yep.
Who am I going to notify? What are the processes? The second thing you described, which was interesting, were all the interconnected systems that are dependent on that SIS.
Yeah.
Do you have that documented?
As far as those notifications go, the PR person and I know what those are, but documented on paper, no.
Yeah. So you have the SIS that goes down at a certain time, and you've got to quickly figure out, okay, since it's down while this process is running, what's the implications of it not running on time, or of it being delayed?
And my fear was that we were going to be in that window of SIS being down and attendance not being taken because the system is down. But let's say this process runs at 10 o'clock in the morning, that it pulls this report automatically and send texts out. Let's say it comes up at 9, that SIS comes up at 9:50, but everyone is still in the process of either teaching, they don't realize it's up, no one's notified teachers that it's up, so they haven't gone in to take attendance.
Right.
At 10 o'clock, that job still runs and sends those text messages out. We would have had a bunch of incorrect, your kids skipping school text messages go out.
Right. So you've got all the integrations that are dependent on that SIS being up and active, and what happens to those integrations when they're not seeing the SIS.
Right.
The third thing, which you kind of touched upon as well, is how are you going to continue to run your day-to-day business? So how do you take attendance? How do the lunch monitors know who to feed? All those kinds of things. So is that an area that you have in place, or are you developing, or?
Again, I think some of that, it needs to be developed. That plan needs to be developed as far as those contingency plans for, okay, when this does happen, how does attendance work? Are teachers taking it on paper, sending it to the office so that it can be updated later? Food service, are they just going to go ahead and write it down? I think most of those plans historically, because this is not our first foray, how do you like that word, into a student information system. So we've gone through outages before with CIS, our prior CIS. So there are workflows established. I just don't know that those workflows are written down.
Got it.
Attendance is a great one.
Did you only email or contact like building admins, or did you do a blanket email to like faculty staff? What's your approach on that?
So, let me think. It was, I think I sent 2 messages, one of varying detail to each group. So I sent to our main distribution list, our building distribution list that our faculty is part of, and just said, hey, SIS is down. I don't have any detail. I'm starting a work order. Just be aware that it's down and having issues, or it's slow, whatever. I had also sent, either right before that or right after that, an email to my principals and my central office leadership saying, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I know is fact. I've spoken with support. They're not giving any real detail. I don't know how long this is going to be down. So a little bit more detail in the message to administration, just so they're a little bit more informed if they get asked. But that blanket generic warning is what I typically send out to the buildings.
That's always a hard call for me too. Like that, like at what point are you down that you need to tell everybody? Yeah. Because I get tired of like the mass work order tickets we're getting that's saying my SIS is slow or SIS is down. And then you don't want to go ahead and send that email out, and some people don't check their email for an hour, and SIS might be back up, but then they're not using it because they think it's down because they read your email, whatever. Yeah. When you do that full acknowledgement that there's problems.
I have a surprise for the group. We actually have a copy of the message that Josh sent out because he sent it to Chris and I in a text message. It reads...
No.
It reads, camp is down again. Is that the message that you sent out to your school?
That is not the message I sent out to my schools. And Mark, we're never being invited to the White House now.
There was a time last year with the SIS that I'm currently on that you moved away from, Josh, when like it was kind of common.
Yes.
There was a period of time when we were down a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what I think kind of invented some of those procedures that we were going to follow.
Yeah. And it's funny because this has led to discussions with senior leadership in the district of, just a random remark that we never had this problem before when we hosted it on site, which I agree with the statement. And we can get into the whole what really happened.
So you used to be, your previous SIS, you did host it.
We were on site. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So we are not on site. So 2 years ago, like there was serious issues of downtime, and our SIS had to implement some new things on their end to keep all of us up. And it was like every couple of days, I felt like for a period of time, I was sitting on an email that said SIS is down or SIS is sluggish, SIS is slow.
Yeah, and I think
that made like the lunch ladies come up with the way of doing. Okay, here's how we're going to get through lunch. That made the people with attendance. Here's how we're going to get through attendance. It was like forced. We have to figure it out.
And I feel like when you have an outage, that's the best time to revisit your processes and procedures and start to revise them. But it's very hard to draft all of your different processes on a theory of what happens if it could go down. So
and a good time
to Josh.
A good time to have a fire drill.
Yeah, perfect.
So that led to discussions of, is this happening because they've added so many schools? And realistically, we have no idea. It's only gonna depend on how transparent they want to be as far as what the real outage was. And I won't get into that now, but It is interesting. You know, we were self-hosted for a while, and I told somebody else, I said, you know, the nice thing is about this outage that while this outage is going on, I don't have people standing over me saying, when's it coming back up? When's it coming back up? While I'm trying to work on a server that's down in my data center. Like, this is someone else's problem, which is nice and not nice because we don't really know the true story of what's going on and what to expect. But it is not really, I don't have to lay hands on it to fix it kind of thing. So, Mark, you're kind of going through the same thing, right?
Yeah, we just moved from an on-prem to a hosted solution, and it's been a little painful. And yeah, we had those same conversations of, well, this wasn't happening when we were on-prem. Why is it happening now? But it's hard, and you revisit your communication protocols, you revisit your SLAs with the vendor, those are the kinds of things that come up. And then you start to talk about, well, I can't get to the SIS. How do I pull a backup set of rosters? Okay, we can get it through Clever or Classic. We can pull the rosters that way, and to take attendance. But it's not easy. It's not easy. But I think everybody needs to be prepared for it, whether or not you're hosted on-prem or in the cloud. You're going to go through an SIS outage.
Yeah, at some point. Yeah. That's interesting statement, Mark, that you can get those rosters through Clever.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Is this us showing our age that, like, remember when things used to be all on-prem and we never had outages? Do you feel like it's that? Because I would lean on-prem, like in a perfect world still, for a lot of things. Like, I liked control of, like, I see it down, I'm looking at the box. You know what I mean? Like, I can myself have some control about how much this thing's getting worked on.
Yeah, and what lights are flashing.
Like, when it's down, right?
Yeah. To a degree, I just...
You still prefer wired over wireless?
Yes.
See, you're getting old.
Yeah, I am. I think it's one of those things too that there are advantages that come with cloud hosted. You know, you're not necessarily worrying about backups anymore. You're not necessarily worried about making port forwards or DMZ allocations in a firewall, getting constantly poked from the outside, something along those lines. That, again, that's someone else's responsibility now. But the trade-off there is you do lose a little bit of control of physical assets as well as your data because it's sitting in someone else's data center. And when an outage happens, you don't know the real story because when you call in for support or you start a ticket with support, you're talking to a level 1 person who's just answering the phone. They're not the engineer trying to troubleshoot and try to fix the problem. So there are definite trade-offs to it. It just depends on what you put more value in. Speaking of firewalls, Chris, why don't you tell us about Fortinet real quick?
Fortinet, a proud sponsor of the K-12 Tech Talk podcast. You can email fortinetpodcast@fortinet.com to get your Forti products on.
So if you have gone through a SIS outage more than 3 days, why don't you shoot us an email? Let us know what your experiences have been with SIS outages. Have you adapted your incident response plan? Have you come up with contingency plans on how to take attendance or how to serve lunch? Shoot us an email, k12techtalk@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on that. Chris, you were wanting to talk about copiers and printers.
Yeah, let's just, I think, play a little, tell us what you do. Where are your printers at? Do you still have a bunch of classroom printers? Are they all in the halls? Do you not do printers? Do you only do copiers? And if you guys would share a little bit of your setup, assumption would be that you do static reservations, static IPs on everything. Do you do that by host name? Do you do that just by IP address? Do you unpack a little bit if you're using a paper cut or a printer management product? Would you guys just kind of share printers and copiers at your school districts?
So I think with copiers and printers, there's a couple main thoughts as far as IPing those things. You can go the route of DHCP reservations. You can go the route of static addresses. I used to work with a network admin that hated static addresses, meaning that you were physically, manually going out of the way to set a static address on that printer, or actually any asset. He didn't. This wasn't just printers for him. He would much rather have a DHCP lease and then turn it into a reservation, because then he had a record of it. He had some way to see that in DHCP. He could see those reservations. I see advantages to that. As far as printer management pieces, I think PaperCut is super, super attractive just from the security aspect of it, of their secure print feature. As far as IP, I mean, we don't allow any direct connection to printers via IP address. They're always going through either a print server or print management system. Is that what you're wanting to know?
Mm-hmm. And then do you do a bunch of printers, or mostly copiers, or classroom printers, or what?
Nope. No printers, only copiers, and no classroom printers.
Do you do stuff like, I guess that secure print? So when an IEP is printed to the copier, that teacher has to walk up to it to get that printed, kind of thing?
Yes. Yep. We did that right before COVID or right after COVID. And the amount of paper it saves is unbelievable, because we have it auto delete jobs after, like, if they submit a job to the queue and it sits for 8 hours, it automatically deletes. They have to reprint it if they don't release it.
Mark, what about you?
Very similar. We provide managed print service to the copy machines. We use MFPs.
Yeah.
So they're copy, scan, and printing. And the teachers or staff can just walk up, tap their ID card, and it will print out their jobs that they printed from their computer. It's pretty great. It's the scanning feature is great because you can scan a document and it goes right to your email. And that's really what we try to say that we support from our department. If a teacher wants to bring in their own copy or printer to their classroom, we've learned not to get in the way of it. It's just not worth fighting it. Yeah. But we also take the approach of, we're going to support the main office printers, the teacher printers, and not the individual onesies and twosies. So, try to take the approach of, I want to make sure that there is a working copy printer in each building, or if not multiple. But in order for us to do that, we can't support classroom printers. And I think, we'll get on occasion requests to help out, but we focus our attention on the big stuff.
Yeah, the whole, when I got there, they had made a push to get away from classroom printers or teachers buying printers and bringing them in and then asking for them to be set up. And since then, I've kind of taken the stance similar to you, Mark, that if you bring it in and you plug it in and it works, you're lucky. But if it doesn't, we're not going to come help you install that. That's, we have these very expensive copy machines that are cheaper to print to, that we are buying toner for. You should be printing to one of those, not a personal. And of course, you still get the calls about, hey, I just got this new HP whiz bang. Can you put it on Wi-Fi? No, we're not. Yeah. We're not doing that.
I wouldn't recommend taking the approach of, like, we're going to actively remove classroom printers or remove these things. That's just a recipe for hatred.
Mobs,
But if you can say, like, here is what I do support, and you do well with it, right? Then you're going to give teachers and staff something to look forward to, or something to that they'll enjoy using. So that's the approach we take. Like it or leave it.
Chris, I heard there was a rumor that you were going to go around removing printers.
I kind of already did that a couple years ago. We had a push so we have copiers in hallways and printer lounges and the whole bit, or teacher lounges and the whole bit. We had one of our elementaries that had received, I think this is Missouri Grant EMITs back in the day, where there was a printer scanner copier in every single classroom. And they were HP LaserJet beasts. They were like long lasting. They wouldn't die. So we had said that we were going to not replace them as they died, but they just weren't dying. So to move more to copiers, we had to make a call, and we're like, hey, we are pulling printers out. And there was some I mean, you're taking something that was owned in that room away. We still do support fully printers in SPED rooms. That comes out of a different budget line. But if you are a SPED teacher or like a title teacher, you still have a printer in your room that we support. So we still have several printers around. And it's that whole deal about like the IEP. We don't want it going to the copier, even though our copiers fully support secure printing, and we've sent out instructions on how that works in the whole bit. But that's, I guess, culture or tradition that I'd like to change it, but that's what we do.
I think one of the rationales for us to get paper cut, because it's not a cheap product by any stretch, was that secure print, and it allowed us to remove or stop supporting and stop buying ink and toner and paper for those printers in special education classrooms, because there wasn't a need for them anymore. So that was one of the big rationales for us to get paper cut, was that trade-off, that quote unquote cost savings, to get rid of those printers.
And, I guess I'm different from you guys as well. The teacher can choose to print securely to the copier. We don't force it, which probably makes it an underused feature, because they have to go out of their way to click on something when they're printing the job.
Yeah, the only network attached printer that gets installed on our PCs and Chromebooks now through group policy is the secure print. That's the only network resource they have to print to. They can't print directly to any other copy machines. So yeah, that definitely makes a difference. If you were to make that jump, I would say you would see that usage go way up.
Josh, funny about IP address stuff. So we have Matt, the technician, is now Matt, the system administrator. So he's over DHCP. So we've had some fun conversations lately about, do you set a static and then or do you let it get a DHCP address and make that reservation? And that really is more of a preference thing. Yeah. Or however your head kind of gets stuck. I'm more the static way. I don't like the DHCP getting random IPs assigned. I like to kind of know it's dot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever you want to say. That's a good back and forth conversation.
No, I agree. There's definitely pros and cons to it. I don't know if we can. I think. Chris, why don't you tell us about Extreme Networks real quick?
Extreme Networks, another proud sponsor of the K-12 Tech Talk podcast. You can email dmayer@extremenetworks.com. Pretty soon in the next week or so, I'm going to hang out with Kevin. He's a Missouri guy. He's going to look over my Extreme Cloud IQ setup, make sure I'm maximizing all of its features, all of its setup. So I'll get to talk about that a little bit here in the next couple of weeks on the podcast, I believe. Extreme Networks.
What's Dominic's email address?
That is dmayer@extremenetworks.
And we've lost Mark. I think he's turned his
He made a funny
off.
face.
He did make a funny face, like he just won the lottery or something. I thought he was going to text us that he had won the lottery and he was quitting, but he's back. So let me just throw something out to you guys and get your thought. I had a conversation with a teacher today, and she was complaining about the amount of huddle viewing that is going on during class periods and class time. Have you guys, have you heard any similar complaints? Do you guys use Huddle? 2, have you ever looked at your web usage statistics to see where Huddle lands?
I'm going to pull that report right now.
Oh, okay. Mark, you're shaking your head.
Because I have not.
So, out of curiosity, when that teacher made this complaint to me, I did pull some reports. And since the start of the school year, Huddle is our 4th highest hit website over Google Docs, Drive, and Classroom. So I think that
it is football season.
it is football season, but Huddle does way more than football, like soccer, volleyball, girl and boy soccer. So I think it's an interesting conversation to have. I'm not sure I'm taking a stance on it yet. Either way, there's definitely value in the service that Huddle provides. But to me, the bigger question is that a valuable service during the instructional hours or instructional time? So it'll be interesting to see where this shakes up. And Chris, I'm curious to see what your reports tell you.
I'm trying to pull it. Large data sets may take some time to display.
Oh, that's right. You're on that system. So, yeah, if you're listening to this and you see another episode come out while Chris is pulling his usage stats, if you see another episode come out about Alaina Clark interview or titled something along those lines, make sure to download it and listen to it. That it really was a good interview. Alaina gives us some good insight as to what CISA is working on and some of the new initiatives, including the White House convening and a couple other things that are that CISA is working on for K-12 and making K-12 priority. Chris, any data yet?
No. What's Mark's problem?
He's not talking. He's like doing his best Charlie Chaplin impression.
I'm tired. I got lots going on right now. Sorry.
I'm going to say this as we close. Mark, if I'm being honest with you, how long have we known each other?
A year and a half.
Oh, geez. It's been over a year.
I can tell a difference with your head. Like your hair. There's a difference.
Are you saying I've lost hair since we've
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
met? Wow.
Chris,
And I really think in a week.
This gray here, that's all. This is Chris right here.
Thank you guys for listening. This has been a great episode.
No.
Share us with your friends.
I'm saying on me, not you, Mark. On me. This is Chris.
No.
This is Chris.
Chris went after the top of my head. You just went after the
my
gray hair on
me,
my chin.
Not you. No.
This has been a rough day, and you guys just kick me down.
Kick you while you're down.
This has been great, guys. Thank you.
All right. Well, we're still waiting on Chris to pull his data. We'll maybe.
It's really
talk
bad.
about that.
What's the deal with this report?
Well, it's the system you're using. So share us with your friends. Make that email to some of your local support groups or your local K-12 groups in your county and your area. Share us with a coworker. Shoot us an email, k12techtalk@gmail.com.
I'm feeling pretty good. Mine's down the list.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Like 40-something. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I got Google. I got Clever at the top. My school website. Google, YouTube, our SIS. Pearson. Prodigy Game.
Wow.
Reading Eggs. Savis.
Interesting.
Quizzes.
Your coaches must not be bought into the Huddle ecosystem yet.
Math Seeds. And then Huddle.
Thank you for
Yeah,
reading.
you got a problem over there.
Well, we're just bought into Huddle. I mean, our coaches are using it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a service. So it'll be interesting to see where this shakes out. So wrapping it up, thank you for listening. Share us with your friends, your coworkers. Shoot us an email, k12techtalk@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter or X or whatever it's called this week. We will see you next time. Thanks for listening.
The views and opinions expressed on the K-12 Tech Talk podcast are the personal opinions of Josh, Chris, and Mark, and do not represent the views or opinions of our sponsors or other organizations that we're affiliated with. The material and information presented here is for general information and entertainment purposes only. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.